An old carriage, sitting on the siding. No idea. Could be a shed, or a garage. This rusty old chain is keeping the door closed. The sign's covered with a thick layer of moss. I'll try and scratch the moss away. There it is. Two tools crossed, a hammer and a pickaxe. This is either a mine or the Center for Dyslexic Soviets. Some facts on local history. According to this, the castle was built in the 11th century. The text refers to many renovations and extensions, as well as changes in ownership. Hang on a minute. This could be interesting. The mountain under the castle has an old tunnel system. Ore was mined there from the 18th century onwards. The lords of the castle used the passages of the mines as a hiding place or escape route during times of siege. However, the tunnels were closed down just before the war. That means there was once a connection between the mine and the castle. Maybe it still exists. It's a fizzy sweet dispenser. An axe. I don't envy him at all. He sits in the rain guarding an empty platform at a tiny, deserted station. But then, things aren't a great deal better for me. He can't help me at the moment. It's a memorial cross. Seen better days. There are some candles burning on the pedestal in front of it. I'm sure nobody will mind if I take a candle with me. According to the sign next to the gate, this is the entrance to a mine, and if I understand the text on the info board, these tunnels may have connected up to the castle at one point. It's got to be worth a shot. I should be able to burn through the rope. Then the handcar will roll past the platform. That should keep the guard occupied for a moment or two. Then I'll have some peace and quiet to find the entrance to the mine. Let's go.
What the? Stop! Halt!
It's a fizzy sweet dispenser. As long as no one complains, do what you like.
can't help but fear I'd look more dashing with a sword.
One powerful blow to this rusty chain should be enough. It's pitch black in there. What if the... According to the sign next to the gate, this is the entrance to a mine. And if I understand the text, it's got to be... It's pitch black in there. What if the candle goes out? One of the train's rear lanterns. It's screwed securely to the carriage. It's good to get rid of some pent-up aggression every now and again.
I'll put the candle in the lantern.
Christ, it's a bloody maze down here. I've got no choice. It's my only way into the castle. Besides, in my experience, you find the most useful things in the queerest places. There's an old dented pot lying here. Poor guy. Let's hope I don't end up like him. This place is a maze. I hope these stairs lead up to the castle. Or some nice young German girl's bedroom. I think I've ended up in the castle. I never thought this would actually work. Lucky there's no one here. This is some kind of workshop. I suppose it'd be too much to ask to climb out of the mines and run straight into the map. Well, exploring never gets boring. That is what they say, isn't it? There's a hook here. A threaded hook that's been screwed into the wall. It won't pull out. A dusty old curtain. A filthy mirror. An authentic German nutcracker. I always wanted one of these old-style nutcrackers.
It's a traditional nutcracker. The lever on the little man's back opens his mouth. Insert nut and close mouth. Ugh! Oh, it's okay. The mirror's just coated with a thick, greasy layer of filth. I thought that was my face for a moment there.
A fire's burning. Very cozy. A fire's burning. Nothing remarkable about the chimney itself. Far more interesting are the rungs built into the brickwork here. It's a hand drill. Of course. I can just use the nutcracker to unscrew the hook. Why didn't I think of that before? I'll jam the hook into his mouth and then unscrew it like a pair of pliers. a large threaded hook, a hand drill.
How are you coming along with the inventory?
Nearly finished, Herr Feldwebel. I still need to catalog the objects from Berlin.
Okay, but it is essential that we finish the inventory today. The remaining exhibits will be arriving from Berlin tomorrow.
Jawohl, Herr Feldwebel.
Did he say inventory? Maybe it says where the Piri Reis map is stored. If only I could get a look over his shoulder. And I always thought I was the one carrying too much weight. Huh, I joke, but seriously, I ought to get down the gym. I can't lug an entire set of armor around with me for 3 reasons. First, it's dead heavy. Second, it'll make me look silly. And third, this is supposed to be a stealth mission. I'll just take the gauntlets, because they're cool. Tin soldiers. They look pretty old. I'll take some with me as backup, in case I get caught. A candlestick without a candle. So, just a stick then. A small wooden table. Moving it would make way too much noise. I can hear voices in that direction. Better steer clear. A boar pelt. Well, it's not Argali, but it'll do. He's working on an inventory. If only I could get a look at it, it might be a nice shortcut to the Piri Reis map. Could save me trawling this castle for the next 3 hours. Probably won't. He's studying a map, as long as he's occupied. I don't really care what he's doing. Nice view. Nazis. I hate these guys. A tower. It's a tower. I can see a few houses down there. That must be the village of Buren the guy at the station mentioned. It's too dark and I'm too far away to make out any details. A telescope mounted on the railing. I see trees. The telescope's pointing toward the forest, and I can't turn it. It seems to have rusted. The telescope's attached with a metal clamp. Maybe I can loosen it with the drill. That's better. Now I can make out the individual buildings. Some kind of marketplace. The village church. Looks like the local pub. Freshly tapped beer and a hot schnitzel. Quite literally, the only things in the entire world that I want right now. A huge crack, though by no means a crevasse, thank God. It's a long, thin crack in the wall.
Ugh. Rubbing a greasy mirror with a greasy animal pelt will only make it, well, greasier.
I think I know how to get to the station, and I've seen all there is to see in the mine. I'll take the quick route. I'll dip the pelt into the water. That should do it.
Not quite there. I need something to dissolve the grease.
It's a fizzy sweet dispenser. I need a coin.
Tin soldiers wearing Prussian uniforms from the last century. I hope you like your new home, guys.
I think I know the route pretty well now. Nothing interesting left in the mine. I'll head straight up to the castle. Sorry guys, but sacrifice is just an intrinsic part of war. That was quick. They've melted down like butter.
I'll pour some of the molten tin into the hollow in the candlestick. I've poured some molten tin into the round hollow in the candlestick. It's hardening pretty quickly. Actually, I can take it out already. Don't ask me how I did it, but I've bored out the solidified tin. It's now a lovely round shape. Almost like a coin, you might say.
What do you know? It actually worked. I could make a mint. Get it? Because I'm making money to use in a sweet. You know what? Never mind. 4 fizzy sweets fell out the bottom.
These fizzy sweets contain sugar, citric acid, flavoring, and coloring. Yum.
The sweets will probably dissolve in the rainwater. I'll pour some water into the pot.
The sweets are dissolving in the water. I've soaked the pelt with lemon water. There, spick and span. The clean mirror.
I'll screw the hook into the crack. Okay, I'll hang the mirror up here. Praise be the laws of optics. I can make out every word. If the soldier would just move his hand a little to the side, then perfect. There it is. Exhibit 104C. The Piri Reis map, stored in the crypt in the North Tower. The problem with answers is they always give rise to new questions. Where the devil is the North Tower? The inventory list I saw in the library says that the items the Tula Society is studying, including the Piri-Reis map, are located in the castle's North Tower. But which way is north? I need to find out before anyone cottons onto me. According to the inventory list, the Piri-Reis map is in the castle's North Tower, but without the sun, I have no idea which direction that is. I need to work it out. I don't have time to waste. Looks like the local pub. Freshly tapped beer. A village church. Wait a moment. Churches always point west, don't they? With the altar in the east. The main entrance is facing away from me. So, looking at the church, the two small towers to my left and right must be on the east-west axis. So the North Tower must be on the other side of the castle, but how am I supposed to get all the way over there? Believe it or not, I can't reach it from here. A thin, steep... Believe it or not, I'll take it down again. I'll unscrew the hook. I can hear voices in that direction. My hands aren't dirty. I'll pour some water into the pot. I'd need a lot more water. This isn't going to work. I think I can safely put the fire out now. I'll just throw the skin over. Great, the fire's out. Though it now smells like a wild pig's marital sty in here. Now the fire's out, I can see the ladder rungs more clearly. They definitely lead up to the roof. The ladder rungs are still too hot to hold. I could definitely cool down the lower rungs, but I can't keep refilling the damn pot with every step I take. I'll have to think of something more practical. The gloves should protect me from the heat, climbing up the chimney to steal people's treasured possessions. I'm like the anti-Santa, only trimmer. Luckily, I'm not afraid of heights. Or, as we've established, anything at all. Apart from our Argalis. And Kim, when she's in a huff. That must be the North Tower, where the Tula Society is storing its research. According to the inventory, that includes the Piri-Reis map. I'll try to get in through one of the windows. Okay, I've reached the North Tower, but I don't see any ancient research objects or artifacts. The inventory said the items are kept in the crypt. Thinking about it, this doesn't really look like a crypt to me. It must be one floor lower. I'll have to find a way down. The North Tower Crypt. This is where all the Tula Society's research objects are supposed to be held. I've got to get down there. A round stone slab with some kind of occult symbol. This slab's separate from the rest of the floor. I can see the seam running along the edges. That said, I can't lift it with my bare hands. This crank lowers the old chandelier. They must have used it for lighting candles back in the day. Let's see if the crank handle still works. It's damn heavy. I ought to use the crank if I want to get it back up. Let's attack this thing. There, I've drilled a small hole. I've drilled a small hole into the stone slab. I've screwed the hook into the drill hole. It's lodged pretty tight. The chandelier is now lying in the center of the symbol on the floor. Fenton, you old dog, you've done it again. The chandelier is attached to the hook, which is screwed into the slab in the floor. When I turn the crank, the whole thing comes away. Shame there's nobody here to congratulate me. Ah, there's a cable here. Maybe I can climb down on it. Hopefully it'll take my weight. Looks like I'm in the right place, finally. Not that I'm complaining. Must be more of the Tula Society's artifacts and research objects. It could take days to search all these boxes for the Piri Reis map. There's a sort of dossier on this podium. I'll just skim it quickly. It outlines the Tula Society's central objectives. According to this, the Society was founded in the early 1920s with the aim of restoring the knowledge of lost civilizations for its own use. The Tula Society's influence extends into the highest echelons of the German Reich. This gives them complete carte blanche on their activities. They can do whatever the hell they like. Seems they launched a project codenamed Vril under the direction of our old friend, Countess von Hagenhild. The focus of this project is the search for Shambala. The Tula Society believes that a vast store of ancient knowledge is being hoarded there. The source of morphogenetic fields. Morphogenetic fields? Never heard of them. But then it does ring true with what Professor Hayes was talking about, a store of ancient knowledge. If I remember the professor's description correctly, the hunters and herders of Shambala suddenly developed into a flourishing and highly advanced society. Hayes reckons some sort of mysterious energy was responsible for the tribe's development. Is that what they mean by morphogenetic fields? These documents contain the research results of a scientist by the name of Aldrich von Hagenhild? Must be some relative of the Countess. Von Hagenhild spent his time searching for the world soul. Christ, can't these people just use sensible names? The basis for von Hagenhild's research was the concept that for an organism to develop as it should, there must be some immaterial power steering it in the right direction. Basically, an invisible blueprint determining form and growth. So, why does a rabbit develop the way it does? And why does a pine tree become a pine tree? Who's the architect? What tells them to grow bark? Or fancy lady rabbits? Looks like these questions led von Hagenhild to believe there was some invisible, imperceptible field that controls the development of an organism. He called it morphogenetics. Von Hagenhild explains the holistic aspect of self-organizing systems with his theory of morphogenetic fields. Basically, the field stores forms or behavioral patterns that every member of a species draws from and adds to. This was his Western take on something the East had known for some time. In Far Eastern philosophy, people refer to his morphogenetic fields as the divine essence of nature, or as the soul. He thought he'd identified the soul. He didn't think the soul was a spiritual thing. He thought it was a fundamental principle of nature that had been warped and confused by religions the world over. He even thought he had proof. He refers to certain experiments he carried out. Ugh, this is a lot of information to take in. Von Hagenhild really believed that in these morphogenetic fields, he'd identified the soul, the central power behind all living things. The documents are under lock and key behind a thick sheet of glass. These documents refer to several experiments which are supposed to prove the existence of morphogenetic fields. Von Hagenhild wanted to prove that every species obtains its entire being, its form, its instincts, from these fields, like some kind of collective memory. These inherited memories control not just the form, but also the behavior, the capabilities, and the knowledge of the relevant species. He called it a group soul. Experiment number 1, the rat experiment. The experiment investigated the capability of rats to find their way through a maze. At the beginning of the experiment, the rats needed 165 attempts before they could get through the maze without a mistake. But a few rat generations later, the number of attempts had dropped to 20. Conclusion: the first batch of rats learned how to navigate the maze, and this instinct was somehow added to the rat's group soul. When later rats navigated the maze, they somehow had access to this ancestral memory, even if the rats weren't directly related. Experiment number 2, the ape experiment. 2 ape colonies of the same species were isolated and observed on 2 small islands in the Indian Ocean. Von Hagenhild's team taught the apes on one island a few new behavioral patterns. The other colony was left undisturbed and uninfluenced, so while the apes on the first island are learning how to open tins and the like, the others are eating bananas. Several months later, the apes on the undisturbed island began displaying these new skills, even though they'd never come into contact with the other colony. Von Hagenhild's conclusion: all members of a species are connected by morphogenetic fields. They share a subconscious collective memory. He thought this theory could explain a lot. Animals' sense for impending danger, telepathy, sixth sense in humans. Von Hagenhild also concludes that members of a group can learn something new at a far quicker pace when the vast majority of members of that same group have already acquired the knowledge. These fields are basically stores of information that are effective across space, and in rare cases even time. Von Hagenhild presumes this would go some way towards explaining premonitions. Human beings sporadically accessing morphogenetic fields from varying points in the future. It all sounds very far-fetched, but then it does explain a lot. Supposing morphogenetic fields really exist, they'd be the answer to problems science has been trying to solve for centuries. And if all these fields add up if there's some kind of central repository of all this information. Christ! It'd basically be the scientific definition of God. I'm beginning to understand why the Tula Society's quite so interested. And if there's even the slightest chance it's all true, why they need to be stopped. Is this the Piri Reis map? It's hand-drawn, ancient. There are some notes next to it. Finally, von Hagenhild became convinced that there must be a type of definitive field from which all other fields are derived. All manifestations have an origin. He tried to back this up with historical evidence. A world soul, for instance, had been proposed by Plato over 2,000 years ago. But what really convinced him was the discovery of an old mysterious map of the world, drawn by the Ottoman general Piri Reis. I knew it! It's the map! Let's see. Further on in the text, von Hagenhild discovered that the general had drawn up the map in the 16th century, using sources which were thousands of years old. But how could they have known at that time what the world looked like? He posed the theory that a civilization had existed then, which possessed extraordinary knowledge and skill. He discovered a marking on the map, which was written in an unfamiliar language. Research in Far Eastern libraries revealed it was a long-forgotten Tibetan script. Once translated, it claimed the marking indicated the source of all knowledge, the center of the morphogenetic fields. It was a hidden valley in the Himalayas, Shambala. Shortly before he died in 1934, von Hagenhild passed the responsibility of continuing the research onto his daughter. Professor Hayes was right. About everything. The Tula Society arrived at the exact same conclusion as he did. They were just one step ahead. Lucky I'm one step more. Richard used the first key to pass through the gate in that secret room in the monastery. I just need to find the second. The Nazis can't enter Shambala without it. And, as it happens, I have the eye. And I have the map. I just need to use them to find the location of the second key. My last hope of finding Richard is based on an ancient legend. Great. It's time to cross everything I've got. And I mean everything. Fingers crossed. I've come all this way, but I'm still a little surprised it actually worked. The Piri Reis map really is the map of the Guardians of Shambala. Or at least it was drawn to their specifications. So Professor Hayes was also right in thinking the priests of Shambala took the second key artifact to India and hid it in a temple there. And now I know exactly where to look. On the Kathiawar Peninsula, just north of Bombay. Thinking about it, I actually know the commander of the British regiment in Rajkot. If the old drunkard hasn't been transferred for disciplinary reasons again, I'm sure he'll lend me a hand. Or at least a decent bottle. Then, I'll just have to find the temple and get hold of the key artifact. What could be simpler?
Looks like the road ends here. This village is supposed to be the last settlement. Other than that, there's nothing but thick jungle in every direction. The commander of the local troops led me this far. But now I need to quiz a local about the temple. I have no idea where it is.
Hello? Hello?
Jesus, where is everyone? Looks like this place was abandoned pretty recently.
Hello? Is anybody there?
The Nazis can't have been here already. can they? Damn it. I'll have to find the temple on my own. A bamboo pole. Why is it every time I see one of these things, I feel like something ridiculous is about to happen? I'll take that cloth with me too. It's a tree. It's a big tree. There are leaves on it? I don't know. There are some chopped logs lying in the fireplace. Not much going on. Feathers, blood. It's clear what happened here. Some huge winged monster had a nosebleed. Or a chicken got eaten. One of the two. Chicken feathers. A man can never have enough feathers. There's a broken jug lying here. This basket's seen better days. The jug's broken, but I could still use it as a container. What is that? It's a small goat. It appears to be hiding underneath the hut. Well, no, it's definitely hiding underneath the hut. I can see it from here. All this military training, and now I realize I never learned how to coax a goat out of hiding.
Bah! Bah!
Damn, it's gone further underneath the hut. A few shards of pottery. I'll just take a short wander into the jungle. Maybe the villagers are out foraging or whatever it is villagers do.
Hey, you there! Where do you think you are going?
Christ! You frightened the life out of me! What the hell are you doing hiding in there?
Get away from the edge of the jungle. Come here!
What's wrong?
Don't ask, just do what I say.
Have I done something wrong? Sorry, I didn't mean to sneak around. I just wasn't sure where everyone had got to.
There's a man-eater about.
A what?
Doesn't anything strike you as strange around here?
Well, yes.
He came into the village last night while we were sleeping.
Who?
The man-eater. Listen to me. The beast is still out there. I can feel it in my bones.
And you're the only survivor?
No, during these months, only women, children and old people live in the village. The young men work on the tea plantations. When he came, there was no one here to protect us. Those who could walk packed their things and left this morning.
What sort of animal are we talking about here? I'm, something of an expert.
A tiger, what else?
A tiger?
It was no normal tiger, it was a man-eater. Tigers normally avoid settlements. They hunt in the jungle. But now and again, a few of the particularly hungry ones stray into the villages. I remember the old stories from my childhood. When a man-eater has picked out a village, he stalks it for days until he can strike again.
When you put it like that, it does sound kind of scary. But I have a very important task, and I'm looking for someone who can help me.
What brings you here, stranger?
I'm looking for an old monastery, or a temple. Do you know anywhere around here that fits the description?
As a matter of fact, there is an old temple nearby.
Great. How do I get there? Could you show me?
You may have no instinct for survival, stranger, but I wish to retain what is left of my life. I cannot leave the village until the man-eater is dealt with.
Okay, tell you what. I'll have a look around and think of something. If I deal with the tiger, will you lead me to the temple?
Take my word for it, stranger.
Great. It's a deal.
Be careful out there.
There are some reeds lying here. Looks like the villagers use them to thatch their huts. A bundle of dry reeds. A few sharp-edged pottery shards. The basket's already broken, so I might as well finish cutting it up. I've dismembered the entire thing. All that's left are these thin sticks of wood and the hemp stitching. Oh, and these 2 black stones that were inside. I'm sure the chicken that shed these feathers is in a better place now. A hollow bamboo pole. Are these things just following me around? A bundle of... I can tie one of the pottery shards to one of the sticks. A long cord. A sharp pottery shard on a thin wooden stick. Great. I'll use a few fibers from the hemp cord to make fletching for the dart. I could probably manufacture an operational blowgun. The dart looks like it'll fly straight, but I'm missing one little thing. There's thick jungle in every direction, save for a small trail leading southwest. No idea where this path leads, but if I stay on it, at least I won't get lost. Probably. I'll follow the path leading out of the village so I don't get lost. Let's see where it leads to. What is that sound? Christ, there really is a tiger out there. I never knew they sounded like that. Thinking about it, I'm not a vet, but this guy might be injured. No doubt he'd still eat me given half a chance. I should stay out of his way. Ugh. Leeches, dysentery, mud. Not very enticing. That's the man-eating tiger I'm supposed to be dealing with. It sounds like it's in pain. I've seen a worryingly large number of plane wrecks in the last week. At least this one wasn't my fault. As far as I know. The tiger's still back there. I probably shouldn't do anything to attract his attention. That includes climbing trees. I've seen a worryingly, at least... a clump of wild mushrooms. I don't know anything about mushrooms, but that's no reason not to pick them. If they taste foul, I can just throw them away.
Before I make a stew out of them, I should probably ask an expert if they're even edible.
Salad. All that's missing is a thick, juicy, medium rare ribeye and some chips. Hold the salad. The nice thing about being behind the tree is that the man-eating tiger of death can't actually see me. It looks pretty impenetrable. I'd need a guide to find my way through. I think I'll stay on the path for the time being. Only one villager stayed behind after the attack, and he's hiding in here. He can show me the way to the temple, where according to legend, the second portal key of Shambala is stored. But, perfectly understandably, he's afraid of the man-eating tiger that's on the loose. I need to take the cat out of the equation.
Hello?
Yes? Any luck in hunting the tiger?
Yes, I saw the tiger. You're right. He's still lurking about.
Told you so.
I think I know why it came into the village last night as well. He looks injured. He's out in the swamp making sad noises. Would that explain why he's acting so aggressively?
Quite possibly. But regardless, I am staying in my hut, and don't go getting any wild ideas yourself.
But I promised to help.
As you please. Is there anything else?
I found these mushrooms in the jungle. Are they edible?
I would only eat them if you have sleeping problems. These mushrooms contain a natural sedative. We use them to treat minor injuries. But I have heard of a Brahmin who performs operations on injured animals and sedates them with the poison from these mushrooms during the operations.
Interesting. So you just chuck them down the creature's throat?
No, the sedative must get into the bloodstream. The mushrooms are cooked and the juice that escapes is then injected. It requires a bit of experience to get the dosage right. Too much of the stuff could knock out a huge water buffalo, never mind a small pet.
No problem. Caution is my middle name. I found these stones in the village square. I don't suppose they're, valuable by any chance?
No. These are flint stones. Keep them by all means.
Oh, well thanks anyway. Is there any chance I can convince you to come out for just 10 minutes? The tiger's out in the swamps. I don't think he really poses a threat.
I forgot I was the tourist and you were the local. Believe me, it poses a threat.
All right, all right. I'm on it. I'll see what I can do.
Good luck.
The old man said that you can extract a natural sedative from these mushrooms by boiling them. They're dry enough, but I'll need more than a spark to set them alight. They should go up nicely. The reeds caught. The logs shouldn't be far behind. A pleasant, spicy odour. Might actually taste good. Christ, when was the last time I ate? To what end again? A thick vine. It's pretty thick. I can't just pull it down. A thick... It's pretty thick. I can't just pull it down. It's dried up in the heat. The blood dried up hours ago. I can't soak it up. He looks hungry. Goats eat green things, don't they? Okay, little guy. Fancy an adventure? It's a goat. There's a goat in my pocket. Don't ask me how, or more pertinently, why. An old tattered cloth. In you go. If the old guy is telling the truth, I can boil these mushrooms into some kind of natural sedative. That was quick. there's a dark sap oozing out. The poisonous mushrooms are boiling away in the pot, producing a dark purple sap, powerful enough to knock out a rhino. It's too hot to remove with my bare hands. Let's get this off the fire without burning my hands.
I'll dip the tip in the homemade tranquilizer. The tip of the dart's coated in the mushroom tranquilizer. Voila! A perfect tranquilizer.
This should put the tiger out of action for a while. I've not exactly got the best shot, though. I could hide behind this tree and lure him over. But if he doesn't cross the water, he'll be on the opposite side of the tree to me, and if he comes to the shore, he'll round the trunk and wind up about 3 feet from my nose. If the sedative doesn't work, I'll have about 500 pounds of furry death on my hands. I'll have to lead him somewhere else and set up a distraction so he doesn't, eat me or anything. I might give this a bit more thought.
I'll tie a piece of the cord around the goat's neck, so it doesn't run off before I'm done with it.
It's pretty thick.
A long cord.
Feathers, blood. I need to stay here and... I loved climbing trees when I was a boy. The taller, the better. Nowadays, I tend to only do it when I have to. Like when I'm being chased. Or when I'm bored. It's a tree. I'll tie him up here. I hope this works. Meh.
Don't worry, you're not bait. You're just a distraction.
I loved climbing trees. Okay, preparations are in place. I'll lure the tiger into the village, then hide behind the tree in the square. While the tiger's busy with the goat, I should have just enough time to hit him with the dart. Let's hope the sedative works. For my sake, as well as the goats. Do or die. Only one shot at this. Concentrate.
Have you shot it?
No, I've just sedated it.
Sedated? And what happens when it wakes up?
Look, he's injured. There's a nail stuck in his front paw.
Ah, you are correct. He has obviously fallen into a trap.
You set up traps to piss these guys off.
No. Many farmers in this area protect their fields and plantations from all sorts of animals with spiked traps such as these. If a tiger gets injured by such a trap, it cannot hunt in its usual way.
And it gets angry.
It begins to look for easier prey.
Chickens, goats, people.
Exactly.
Okay, let's pull the nail out. Then we can take him out into the jungle and hopefully he'll wake up and wander back to his natural habitat.
This could work. I extend my thanks and the thanks of the entire village to you, stranger.
You know, thanks are great and all, but don't forget our deal. Let me take a look at this guy's foot. You find something we can use to move him.
Okay. I'll fetch a cart and we can take it to the other side of the valley.
Okay, we're done.
Then I will lead you to the old temple as promised. Follow me. This is it.
Here? But I don't see a temple.
Behind me in the lagoon.
What do you mean, in the lagoon?
According to records, there was a narrow valley here in which a temple stood until a few hundred years ago. One day, after a heavy storm, the valley was flooded along with the temple. Since this day, everything that remains of the temple is under the surface of the water. Only this statue standing on the roof of the temple bears witness to what lies beneath.
Do you think anything's still intact down there?
I cannot swim, how would I know?
Okay, well, thanks for your help.
It was no problem, stranger. I had better make my way to the next village to tell the women that the tiger is no longer a danger. Would you care to accompany me?
Women, you say? No, I really ought to get back to saving the world. Thank you, though.
As you wish. Good luck.
I usually need it.
My guide said this lagoon was formed a few centuries ago, when a storm tide flooded the valley here. This statue is all that's left to be seen of the temple. The rest disappeared underwater when the lagoon formed. My guide said this lagoon... There's an old column here, reclaimed by the jungle. These plants are firmly attached. I can't just pull them away. I'll fill it with water. I don't need hot water right now. There's some water in the jug. The old man walked to the neighbouring village to tell them I saved the day and they can come home. I bet he spins a good yarn. I'll be a 6'5" Adonis by the time he's done. Not that I'm a million miles off that already. There are some reeds lying here. Let's get up there and take a look. The cockpit's ruined, but there's a glove compartment here that looks relatively intact. This wreck's old. The jungle's begun eating into it. There's a cardboard box in relatively good condition in the glove compartment, but everything else is foobar. The cover for the electrics. The cover is attached with 4 hexagonal nuts. I need something to unscrew them. Let's see what's in this box. Looks like an old radio. A radio with a hand-operated generator. You produce power by turning this little crank on the side. Oh, it fell off. A hand-operated generator provides the necessary power for the radio. Just turn the crank and juice it up. Wow, blind luck. The radio crank fits right into the bolts on the cover. Ah, there's an electrics cable under here. Might come in handy. A long power cable from the crashed plane. I'll connect one end of the cable to the contacts on the radio. I don't need to use it at the moment. Besides, my gut tells me this thing may not be up to modern electrical safety regulations. There's an old column here, reclaimed by the jungle. I don't need. Besides, I connected the power cable to the contacts on the radio. They definitely burn well, but I don't really need a torch right now. I loved climbing. Nowadays, I need to stay here. There's a good fire burning now. I don't need hot water right now. A long cord. It's pretty thick. I can't just pull it down. There's an old column here, reclaimed by the jungle. This statue is all that's left to be seen. My guide said this lagoon was the waters softened the cardboard. I softened the cardboard in water. They definitely burn well. I loved climbing. Nowadays, I loved nowadays. I softened the cardboard. They definitely burn. These plants are firmly attached. I can't just pull them away. I softened the cardboard in water. The old man walked to the neighboring village. Feathers, blood. It's clear what happened here. The blood dried up hours ago. I can't soak it up. I'll fill it with water. This should moisten the bloodstain. I've soaked the cloth in the blood. There are certain things I like carrying around with me. Matches, booze, women. Old, muddy, blood-stained rags are not one of those things. I softened the carpet. I'll knot the blood-stained rag onto the loose end of the cable. I connected the power cable to the contacts on the radio. I don't need to use it at the moment. Besides, my gut tells me this thing may not be up to modern electrical safety regulations. I connected the power cable. I connected the power cable to the contacts on the radio. A thick... I loved climbing. Now... To what end again? I don't need to use it at the moment. Besides, my gut tells me this thing... I'll fill it with water. There's some water in it. They definitely burn well. Ouch! I don't need hot water right now. They're dry, they'd go up a treat. But burning villages down, I don't know. Isn't that what the bad guys do? There are some reeds lying here. Looks like the villagers use them to thatch their huts. I've already got some. I can come back for more later. I connected the power cable to... This statue is all that's left to be seen of the temple. The rest disappeared underwater when the lagoon formed. You know, if I were a fishing man, this is definitely how I'd do it. Boys use hooks, men use electrically charged cables of death. Of course, I'm not a fishing man, so it's somewhat moot. Perhaps some of the temple's still intact. I've got to check it out. At least the water's nice and warm. You know, it all started innocently enough. Flies. Nothing dangerous about flies. Then there was the cat. Then the sheep. The tiger. Now sharks. Bloody sharks! I'd better steer clear of him. At least the temple looks intact. I'd better head back to the shore before he spots me. Okay. I have to get rid of that shark if I'm going to reach the temple. The radio can be charged electrically, and that charge could then be conducted down the cable. Sharks, I'm sure, are sensitive beings at heart. Even a small shock should be enough for him to turn tail. Of course, he's right on the lagoon bed. I'll need him to be right on top of the cable for it to work. Hopefully the smell of blood will be enough to attract his attention. It's working. The shark's surfaced, and he's circling the bait. I need to hurry before he pulls the whole thing under. Whap! 40 volts straight to the face. Fenton Paddock, top of the food chain. Time to get down there and check out this temple. How am I supposed to get in? It's a huge gate with a recess in the center. I have my strengths, but breathing underwater isn't one of them. These plants are firmly... There's a pole stuck in the mud here. Just mud. Oh, and a little snail. Weed, mud, clay. Yes, it's a lake bed. The temple looks more or less intact from the outside. Maybe it's in good condition inside as well. Who knows? It's a huge gate with a recess in the center.
This metal rod has a sharp edge. Given how long it's been in the water, it's remarkably rust-free.
There, I've managed to cut away the plants with the sharp edge of the pole. There's a small carving here. It's carved into the stone. There's not much I can do with it. Not bad. The damp cardboard should mold itself to the carving and dry in that shape. Of course, then it'll stick there forever. I need to grease it up first. Weed? I'll collect some mud.
Wet, muddy clay from the lagoon bed.
Not bad, of course. I could heat the clay, but it's not much use in the bottom of this jug.